Welcome to episode 9 of Power Play, a video podcast that travels the world to explore the hard truths of the energy transition. Well, we've just hit a milestone of 7,000 subscribers on Power Play, and I spent this week at an annual golf trip with friends and starting a drive from Orlando to San Diego with my wife. And so with so many new faces joining us, and with my time a bit limited this week, I've decided to make episode 9 a quick 5-minute detour to recap the highlights from our first 8 episodes. So let's dive in. First off, it's essential to recognize that every facet of the energy transition is experiencing exponential growth. Wind and solar, our primary sources of renewable energy, are scaling at a pace that's on track to overtake fossil fuels within the next 2 decades. And if you don't believe me, you need to watch episode 8. However, the intermittent nature of wind and solar power means we need to match them with energy storage solutions of all durations to truly replace fossil fuels in the power sector. The good news? Energy storage, particularly lithium-ion batteries, is already growing at an exponential pace, and projects like the 300 gigawatt-hour green hydrogen energy storage project in Delta, Utah, are launching long-duration energy storage at massive scale. You can see episode 7 to learn more about that. Speaking of lithium-ion batteries, their dramatic drop in cost and performance improvement is powering another transformation, the global rise of electric vehicles, which are also experiencing exponential growth that positions them to replace internal combustion engine passenger vehicles. But as we enter this period of rapid exponential growth, one of the hard truths we've discovered is that Chinese companies have emerged as key players in supplying the hardware of the energy transition, dominating the PV solar and lithium-ion supply chains and rapidly positioning themselves as leaders in the electric vehicle market. So how are Chinese companies doing this? One reason is that Chinese central planners have allowed them to move much faster than Western competitors. In the West, permitting delays, interconnect queues, and local opposition are major roadblocks slowing down progress in building new factories and new energy transition projects. However, as we saw in episode 6, there are pockets of hope in the West, like Texas, showing that rapid progress in the energy transition is possible. On the other hand, California, an early leader in the energy transition that suffers some of the most challenging permitting processes, interconnect queues, and local opposition to energy transition projects, is now becoming an energy transition laggard as exponential growth overwhelms their existing processes. If we don't address these speed killers soon in the West, we risk ceding the future to competitors abroad and failing to beat the clock on climate change. And that's the Cliff Notes version so far. Whether you've been with us since day one or just hopped on board, you're now up to speed. And so as my wife and I continue our cross-country drive, I'll be gathering more material for future episodes. Next week, we'll delve into the electrification of everything, exploring how the energy transition extends beyond the power and transportation sectors that we've already talked about by taking a deep dive on electrified lawn care. Then it's off to the Permian Basin to take a closer look at the history of the U.S. oil and gas sector and the future of global oil and gas demand as the energy transition continues. And this summer, we're heading to Europe, where we'll be touring Norway in an electric vehicle to explore the future of electric vehicle ownership. Plus, we're making stops in places like Germany, France, the UK, Italy, and Iceland. And we're also going to visit Greenland to take a look at their massive ice sheet and much more. Stay tuned for these exciting adventures ahead on Power Play. And now, as we wrap up this episode, here are some of my favorite images from the first 8 episodes. Let's go.